So what is it like? Because are you staying the night at, or like you're sleeping at these observatories, right?
Yeah, observatories like this will have dedicated dormitory facilities. They'll have kitchen facilities. So observatories also have a whole staff of people who are working to keep it running. There's
Sure.
engineers, there's people working in the cafeteria, there's cleaning staff making sure that we're staying, clean and comfortable while we're there. And it's really a multi-person operation to get even, one night of data at a telescope, and being able to stay in dormitories and being able to eat at our weird odd times. The tradition at observatories is that you'll have night lunch that you bring up to the telescope with you, because you're probably waking up at about noon, and you have breakfast at 1 p.m. or so. You have dinner around 6 or so, and then you go to the telescope, and then you eat your night lunch, your last meal of the day, around midnight, because the kitchen has kindly packed you a sandwich or something. Right. So you really are living on the mountain and living in this sort of nocturnal timeline the whole time that you're there.
Yeah, that sounds kind of like seems almost like a fun, nice job to be one of the staff working at the observatory like that. I feel like I could get into that.
I interviewed, so another funny thing that people don't realize about astronomers is they don't let somebody like me actually run and operate this building-sized telescope. They're extremely complicated instruments, and there are people whose job is to operate the telescopes. They're the telescope operators, and they're very distinct from the astronomers. So I'll go to a telescope and be working with the telescope operator, and I'll explain something like, I want to point to this object over there. And he'll be the one who actually sends the commands to move the telescope and keeps an eye on the health of the telescope as it's moving. There's the worry, like, you don't want a cable to get wrapped the wrong way. You don't want something to be moving or scraping the wrong way the whole time through the move. He's keeping an eye on a bunch of different systems in the telescope to make sure everything's working well. And they will work on the mountain for days and days at a time. They'll work a long shift and then go down and have a few days of normal and then come back up and do the same thing again. And there's similar shifts for all the other staff on the mountain. And there are sometimes support astronomers who will be full-time at some observatories to work with visiting astronomers that are getting their data. So some people really do take on the full-time life of working in an observatory, which sounds wonderful. But surprisingly, there isn't always a lot of overlap with that job and what people picture as an astronomer's job, which is sort of answering the mysteries of the universe, because there's so many more jobs tangled up in this idea.
Right. Yeah. No, I can imagine that. So what's the accommodations and food like? Is it pretty plush, or is it kind of like roughing it camping style?
Yeah, plush wouldn't really be the word. It's a little more, I'd call it pleasantly bare bones. Okay. There is a comfortable, clean bed. There's a shower, which is already super luxurious if you're used to camping. There will be cafeteria food that is wonderfully delicious, but pretty straightforward. There's one observatory that I love going to in Chile that famously has empanada day that everybody looks forward to all week, because they'll make these just like heaps of delicious empanadas that you can, if you ask real nicely, they'll sneak one into your night lunch bag for you. But yeah, it's pretty straightforward. You usually go with a backpack of clothes and warm clothes usually, because you're usually up in mountains where it can get pretty cold. I learned how to light a pilot furnace at one of these observatories because there was heat in the room, but you had to get under there and with a match and turn it on. So it's pretty bare bones, but it's really all you need. It's enough to keep somebody, rested and fed and safe and ready to do their science.
Right. Sure. Yeah. It sounds so fun. I'd love to. Do they ever let just non-smart people up there, just us regular dummies?
So there are some observatories that will give tours, but the tours are usually during the day, because at night it's almost always a working observatory. Usually if it is dark and clear out, an observatory is going to be working. They'll take a few nights off during the year to do things like engineering updates, but for the most part, that's when the place is actually at work. So you can go on a tour of something like Kitt Peak Observatory in Arizona or Mauna Kea Observatory in Hawaii. You can get to parts of these observatories during the day. But it's hard to get up there at night if you're not an astronomer. I didn't get to go to one for the first time until I was working in a professional capacity. I was a student and still learning. Actually, I write about the very first observing run I went on in The Last Stargazers, but that was the first time I'd gotten to go to an observatory.
Mm-hmm. Well, it makes sense because the time is so precious. They're not just gonna, give it away. But
they're also very hard to, stop by too. Like these aren't really on the way to places because they're so out in the middle of nowhere. Yeah.
That's very.
Hey, thanks for watching this video. This is my dog, Murphy, and these are dog treats. Now I'll give Murphy one of these dog treats, and all you have to do is press the like button. Just press that little like button right down there at the bottom of this video, and this sweet, adorable, cute little puppy gets a treat. All thanks to you. Alright, you did it? Okay, I believe you if you said you did it. There you go, Murph. She got that treat because of you. Now, I'll eat one of these treats. And all you have to do is click that subscribe button right there, pointing to it. Just click that subscribe button, subscribe to Curiosityness with me, Travis DeRose. Get lots of good video, and I'll eat this treat. All right, you did that too? That's not very good. Bro, not very good.